Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you are doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today we are going to be taking a look at a game called the Roll With It system, and the main game is called the Fortress of Terror. Now, I was a backer of this game for the print and play version that was on Kickstarter, but this is the version that is available on Game Crafter. And I was supplied this as a review copy. I requested one after the game had already funded on Kickstarter. But this is a small game from Humble Bard Games, created by John Bailey. And let's read a little bit about this game. Fortress of Terror, a roll and write solo adventure game. This is the Fantasy Core module. There are whispers that the evil warlord Bram has returned to terrorize the realm, and your town has chosen you to go to the tower and stop him. Collect powerful relics and use their power to help you navigate a series of mazes using a pool of dice that are rolled each round. Allocate your dice carefully as you move, but you can never retrace your steps as Bram has cursed the ground to crumble beneath your every step. Complete chapter goals and escape each maze to advance to the next until you reach the final battle with Bram himself. Fortress of Terror is the first adventure module in the Roll With It system, a modular, solitaire roll-and-write adventure game system with endless possibilities for adventure. The simple, puzzly, maze-style gameplay is approached differently in each adventure, building on the basic rules with new rules, concepts, and components that make each adventure feel fresh and unique. So yes, this is a pretty simple little roll and write kind of maze escape puzzle game, and it is pretty fun. I really have enjoyed my time with the game. So in this box, and I believe this is $50 on Game Crafter, you will get actually two modules. The main one we're going to be taking a look at today is Fortress of Terror, and this is module number 1. This is the most basic of the modules. It also comes with a little more advanced module, and that's module number 2, Temple of Despair. I have not played this one yet, but we'll take a brief look at it towards the end of this video. Now, there's also going to be an expansion box set coming out soon that is going to have modules 3 through 6 with a whole bunch of other cards in it. I'm not sure when that is coming out, but on Game Crafter, for the on the page for the Roll With It system, it says coming soon. So you get 2 of the modules, you get your basic rule book here, you get a dry erase marker, you get a handful of dice, and about 70 cards, I think. You get some story cards, some companion cards, some relic cards, and then 2 decks of cards, ruins and dungeon cards that are used with the Temple of Terror module. So the rules are pretty simple and they're pretty well written. I think this is some of the better documentation that I have seen in a Game Crafter game. The game feels very polished, and I can tell that John Bailey has actually put a lot of work into this simple little system. It is a lot of fun, and I'm surprised that a bigger publisher wouldn't want to pick this up because of the popularity of roll and write games right now. This does have a little bit of that adventure feel that we at the Dungeon Dive really like. A lot of that is augmented because of the ruins, the relics, I should say, that you can pick up, some magical items that help you mitigate some of the luck in the game, and these story cards, which are little event cards. The game isn't focused on a narrative, but there is just enough theme sprinkled throughout the system that you can kind of feel one bubbling up underneath the surface of the game. So the game system, you have your basic rules. It's going to tell you your goal of the game. The goal is actually determined by whichever module you are playing. You are always going to be, most always will be using these 4 white D6 as movement dice to move through the maze. Your D4 is a luck die that you can use to either add to or subtract from a single D6, the value that is rolled on the D4. You have a doom die, which is usually some kind of counter and kind of the way that dictates some of the ways that the dungeon reacts against you as the player. And then you have a red die and a blue die. In the main module, the blue die is an orb die and the red die is a combat die. And those sometimes get added to your dice pool. And so you will roll dice, you will activate dice, The enemy's power will trigger depending on the doom, and then you will also tick down a time tracker. The main way you can lose the game is by not accomplishing your goal in a certain amount of time in a certain number of moves. Again, this is a very puzzle type game. And you can also, if you are unable to use all of your movement die, you have to use 3 movement dice per turn. If you are unable to do that because you might run into a wall or be forced to cross back over your previous path, then you can lose the game as well. But the rules are very simple, very easy to read, very well written. You don't really need to, sometimes these Game Crafter games, it can be a little struggle to learn, but I did not have any issues with roll with it. So now let's take a look at the Fortress of Terror, and this is the actual module that you were going to get. This module is broken up into 4 different chapters. So you have chapter 1, which is this garden maze, and you have to, you will start here at the footprints, and your goal is to obtain one of the blue orbs while also collecting a number of relics. You want to get as many relics as you can because these are powerful items that will help you later on in the game. And then once you collect one of the blue orbs, you want to escape the garden. And then once you escape the garden, you will be in Bram's crypt. And here, what you want to do is you want to pass through each one of these lock symbols to unlock a door, while also collecting enough lore stones. And the more lore stones you collect as you move through them, the weaker Bram will be at the end. So you can kind of keep track. There's a few little things that you will be keeping track of throughout your adventure that will dictate the final battle at the end of the game. Once you have completed chapter 2, you will move on to chapter 3 here, which is the tower. And here you will have to use the red die to move in order to combat these red little dudes here who are monsters. So you want to fight monsters, and you want to move all the way through collecting keys and make it to this stairwell. And once you find the stairwell, then you can take it to chapter 4 here, where you will finally face off against Bram. And your character's power will be based on the number of relics you've collected, will be based on how many enemies you defeated and how many lore stones you have, and that's your fortitude. Whereas Bram's fortitude starts at 40, but he loses a certain amount of fortitude depending on how many monsters you've defeated and how many lore stones you've collected. So that's a really cool way to keep track of your progress throughout the puzzle type gameplay and how that dictates the final battle at the end of the game. So each module will come with this module book, and that will walk you through the story, and it will tell you the chapter goal for each one of your chapters. Again, the chapter 1 goal is to collect as many relics as you can, collect the orb of ice, and then exit through the gates. And the chapter 2 goal is to collect as many lore stones as you can and unlock each of the 4 lock spaces. The chapter 3 goal is to collect all 3 keys, defeat as many monsters as you can, and then also enter the stairs on the 3rd level. And the final objective is to defeat Bram by reducing his fortitude to 0 before you die. And if you do that, you have successfully completed the Fortress of Terror module. Now, each of the modules also comes with a deck of story cards. And the story cards are entirely optional, but I highly recommend playing with them. It just adds a little layer of fun. And you will get a number of generic story cards that you will always use for the module, shown here in this icon here, Fortress of Terror. And these just add little events. And usually these events will allow you to do something extra, something special on your turn, and just add a little bit of flavor. And then each of the chapters, from chapters 1 to 3, have a little sub deck that you will mix in to your main deck. And each one of these has a little piece of thematic text that is more directed to the chapter that you are on, with another special power that you can do. There are not story cards for Chapter 4. Story cards are not used in Chapter 4 of this particular module. The game also comes with a couple companions, and these you can take at the beginning of the game that will help you. Each one of these companions helps you break a rule and makes the game a little easier. And then finally, we have our relics here, and the relics will be shown here with this F icon. That means this is part of the fantasy set. So whenever you are playing a fantasy module, you will always use this set of relics. And these relics all give you an ability to break the rules of the game in some way. And then each of the modules, again, also comes with another small deck of relic cards that you will add to your deck. Maybe at certain points, it'll tell you to add certain cards, and you might have a better chance of getting one of these more special relics in order to help you in that particular game. So the game itself is pretty simple. You're going to have 4 phases. You're going to roll the dice. You're going to activate your dice. Then you're going to activate the enemy's power depending on what the doom die is. And then you will go up on the terror track. And so at the beginning of this game, as you can see here, the blue orbs that you were trying to collect and the relics all have a certain number on them. Whatever the doom die is rolled, at the end of that turn, that number of the ice orb and a relic will be destroyed. So each turn, one of these is going to be destroyed. And so you do need to think about what you have rolled. So on here, if I rolled that, that would be an 8. At the end of my first turn, blue orb 8 and relic orb or relic 8 are going to be destroyed. So if I can't make my way to blue orb 8, which is here, or relic number 8, which is down here, I want to kind of forget about those because I won't be able to get there on this turn. So this gives you a little bit of direction. It adds a little bit of randomness because you never really know which one is going to be destroyed. And it can make things quite difficult. There is a lot of luck in this game, but there are also with the relics, and there are also ways to mitigate that luck. So you begin the game here at your feet symbol there, and you're going to roll these. This is your dice pool for Chapter 1. You roll those, and on a turn, you have to activate 3 movement dice. So you can discard one of those D6. And then this D4, whatever you roll, so a 2, that can be used to mitigate one of those D6 that you use. You can either add 2 or subtract 2. And so I really want to try to collect as many relics as I can because, like I said, they are very powerful. And so starting here, to get that relic, I need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I could use a 5 movement die to get that relic. So I could move up there. And then once you go over a relic, you can go ahead and pick that up. So I would draw the top card of my relic deck, and I find an agility necklace. So during a single movement, you may change direction any number of times. So that's one of the rules is you have to go in the same direction for the entire movement. But with this agility necklace, I can zigzag a little bit. And each one of these relics can be used 1 time per chapter. That's very, very helpful. Okay, so I picked up that relic there. And then also on the board are these trap markers. Every time you pass over a trap marker, you go up on the terror track 1 additional space. And if you ever get to the end of the terror track, you have lost the game. There are also these walls here, and anytime you hit a wall, if you can't complete a movement or you can't use 3 of the 4 movement die, then that is also a way you can lose the game. So I need to think of a way to get over towards a blue orb, because that is the objective. Now, this die here, actually on this chapter, it's just going to, I think it goes up at the end of each turn. So the next blue orb that's going to be destroyed is actually going to be the 9. So I probably want to try to go towards some of the blue orbs, some of the lower value blue orbs. So possibly 7 would be a really good one to go towards because I have a lot of time to get there. So maybe I want to start moving over into the east direction. And let's see, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would put me in a good spot. It would hit me on this trap. I would land on this trap, but then I can move up and over. So I think I'm going to do that. To move 5, I don't have another 5, but I can select that 3 and then add that 2 to give me a 5 to move over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Oh, but you know what? See, so that was a mistake because now I have a 4 only. So I can't move 4 up. I can't move 4 down because I would not be able to complete that movement. So that would actually, using that combination would actually cause me to lose the game. So let's backtrack that up a little bit. So as you can see, it's very, very puzzly. Perhaps I just want to move 4. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then I can only move 3. I could move 1 because I could subtract that 2 from that 3. So let's do that. So let's use a 4 for our second movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'll use a 3 for my second movement, but I'll subtract 2, which gives me a 1, and I'll just move up 1 like that. So that would be the end of that turn. I've used all 3 of my movement dice, and now I destroy relics 8 and orb 8. So put a cross through that and a cross through that, and that is, and then I would mark up 1 on the terror track, and that is the end of that round. And then I would complete, just repeat the process and do the same thing. As you play through each chapter, little rules will be added, little wrinkles will be added. When you finally get a blue die, you will be able to add a blue die to your dice pool to do magical things. When you fight things, you will roll the red die, and then you can use that total to move in a certain direction in order to kill a monster and things like that. And then the various relics that you can pick up. You have a restoration gem, make something that is lost available again. You can have relics that will help you re-roll dice. You can cross over previously walked on paths, crumbling paths. Copy the power of any used or unused relic in your possession. So as you can see, there are a lot of different ways that these relics help you mitigate the luck and help you break the rules, and they are really necessary to win the game. And sometimes the luck is just against you, and that's okay. The games are pretty quick, very easy to put down, very easy to reset. So it does have that kind of rogue-like feel to it, where sometimes you just don't get the relics that you need. Sometimes the seed is not in your favor. But I would say that Fortress of Terror is a very is a more simple module because it is number 1, and the modules are going to be building on each other. So for the Temple of Despair is a little more complex. And as you can see, it starts here on a really big overland crawl map where you are trying to locate a certain ruin, and you are going to be using these ruins cards in order to pinpoint or kind of to triangulate the real ruin that you need to enter. And then once you have located that, you will flip this over, and then you will have a dungeon adventure where you will be using these dungeon cards to draw a dungeon in this map there. And this also comes with some story cards to use. And this only has 3 chapters. So you have chapter 1 is your overland crawl here throughout the wildlands. And then chapter 2 here is when you enter into the ruins and you have found the Temple of Despair. And then chapter 3 will be your the ending of actually this only has 2 chapters. So the second part only has 2 chapters, but they're more complex. There's more to them. They're a little crunchier. But overall, I think this is a very fun little roll and write game. It adds a lot in order to help it feel thematic. It doesn't necessarily feel like a grand adventure game or anything like that, but the different stories, the little thematic text, the little ways you can break the rules, the ruins, the relics, I should say, and just the various rules in the module all help kind of solidify that adventure feel. If you're looking for something that is puzzly, if you're looking for something that you can unwind with after maybe a stressful day at work, if you're looking for something that plays quickly, and something that can be quite a challenge, something that has good luck, but also has ways to mitigate that luck, you may want to look into the Roll With It system and get the Fortress of Terror. I am really looking forward to the expansion pack. I am very interested to see how the designer continues to modify and add upon the core system. Sorry, guys. Well, thank you for watching this video, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.